Hey everyone, welcome to It's Crystal Clear, a show designed to tell your money where to go instead of always wondering where it went. My name is Felicia Young, and as always, thank you for allowing me to help you through this journey. Okay, y'all, we are literally a couple episodes away from the 6 month mark. Can you believe half a year is almost gone already? Have you been setting your goals and working towards them? Are you making time to review what you spend each week, every week? Are you making realistic budgets and are you sticking to them? What about that latte factor? Have you slowed down on spending or are you acting like I haven't said nothing in all these months about a latte or a factor? Now, y'all remember that at the end of the 3 month challenge, three people were blessed with financial gifts for participating and hitting their goals. Well, that's going to happen again. And when we get to our 6 month mark, three more people will be selected to receive financial gifts based on their participation, based on their feedback, and based on them eliminating their debt. So let me know how it's going for you so you can be a part of this drawing. Now let's get to this week's episode. It's called Billionaire in the Making. Y'all see my shirt? So I bought it for myself 4 years ago because that's what I am. I am a billionaire in the making. So 4 years ago, that originally meant that I wanted access to $1 billion so I can afford to do the projects that I want to do in my lifetime. Y'all, I have big dreams. I keep telling y'all, you have to get your own journals and write your vision and you make it plain. I do it all the time. I have so many journals and lots of pens, and I write any and everything that I want to accomplish for myself personally. I write what I want to do for my family and for my community. So when it comes to my community service, I am in competition with myself to see how I can go over the top again. And what can I outdo myself with again? And the funny thing is, every time I compete against myself, the community benefits from building affordable neighborhoods to hosting all kind of workshops. I do all kind of classes. I coordinate shoe drives, clothing drives, food drives for people literally around the country, to even building a school in Africa. Y'all, I wrote that stuff down years ago and I did it. And I wrote more stuff down. And I can't wait to see the faces of those who will benefit from my extraness. 4 years ago, I was in one of my mad scientists writing my journal mode, and I had some things that I really wanted to do that cost a lot of money, a lot of money. And I wanted to help a particular group of people. I needed a lot of money to do that I did not have. So I was writing in my journal, trying to figure out how I was going to do it anyway. You can't tell me no. And I was watching a show on TV, one of those shows where people just shop and they shop and they shop and they spend and they spend and they spend to live a life of luxury. Now, I'm not a jealous person at all. I'm not an envious person at all. I'm just observant. And I was watching the amount of money being spent on just stuff. And I was reading my list in my journal and I had to pause for a minute, y'all. I was like, okay, God, you know, if I had access to that type of money, I can get this list wiped out in no time. I said, God, if I had access to like $1 billion, I could really cut up with the way that I want to help people. I would tear up this world. You have not because you ask not. So my prayer started being, God, please make me a billionaire so I can help more people. I repeated that in my head all day, every day, every day. I really do believe in positive speaking. I believe speaking things into existence. I really believe in writing things down so you can get it. God, please make me a billionaire. That's what I wrote. I even bought this shirt, Billionaire in the Making. I'm trying to make a difference out here in these streets, y'all, and it needs billions to make it happen. So that year, 4 years ago, I had an opportunity to go to Israel for 10 days. I went with several people from my church, and I went with people from our sister church. It was about 50 of us, different ages, different races, different background. We traveled together, and it was so cool. We went to Nazareth and we met a sheep herder named Abraham. And we met his sheep. And we watched as his sheep followed him around instead of following the other shepherd because his sheep recognized his voice. Now, that's always a great sermon subject for your pastor to preach on a Sunday morning. That's one of my whole time favorite lessons. So we visit the Wailing Wall where people stood and they sat in front of it for hours just praying. There were cracks in the wall where you can put prayers on slips of paper and place them inside the cracks. So we did that and we prayed for our family, friends, each other. We went on top of a mountain and we were able to see the wilderness where the Israelites wandered for 40 years. In my head, I was like, y'all, all y'all had to do is just turn that way. You'd have been out of there. We got to ride on the Sea of Galilee and we visited the Dead Sea. And y'all, we just went to so many cool historic places there. So one thing that was strange to me was every time we went somewhere, there were people who would just come up to me and they were talking to me in their languages and I could make out a few words sometimes. They kept touching my hands and they kept asking if I was from Africa. They asked if they could take pictures with me and I posed with people from different parts of the world over and over again. They just kept being drawn to me for some reason. I met a lady from Palestine and she just randomly walked up to me and she started speaking in her language. She put her hand on my heart and then she pointed to the sky. And y'all, in perfect English, she said, God knows. Then she asked to take a picture of me. So at one point, our tour bus stopped and we stopped at a convenience store and we all got out. We went to getting snacks, drinks, we went to stretch our legs. And while we were outside waiting to get back on the bus, another tour bus pulled up on the side of ours and a bunch of people piled off the bus. We're not paying no attention to them. But somehow, some reason, they all looked at me and they started coming over my way and they were asking questions, but it was in their language. So I clearly didn't understand anything that they were saying. So then they started taking turns standing next to me and then they were just taking pictures with me and they were smiling at me. They were talking to me. They were touching me. And I just smiled back and I just nodded my head. Y'all, no telling what I was saying yes to, but I just kept nodding my head. When we got back on the bus, my best friend on the planet named Charity said something to me that blew my mind. She said she'd been taking pictures of the people while they were taking pictures of me. And she thought, what if billionaire in the making didn't mean that I would have $1 billion to work with? But what if billionaire in the making meant the number of people God will allow me to influence in my life? Y'all, that blew my mind. Now, if you really know me, you know I always accept challenges. No matter how far-fetched it sound, I'm always up for a good challenge. So the challenge became I would be a billionaire in the making. My goal became to work to positively impact 1 billion people's lives while I'm alive and long after I'm gone. My calling is to get 1 billion people to understand that they were called to do more than they are allowing themselves to experience day in and day out, especially if that experience is interrupted by bills and overdrawn accounts. My calling is to influence people to take the steps they need in order to unlock the mystery connected to their calling. Okay, we hear the word calling all the time, but what exactly is a calling? So, a calling is defined as a strong urge towards a particular way of life or career. It's like a sense that there is something you are destined to do, who you're meant to become, that unique thing about you. So, I know for a fact that I am called to do exactly what I'm doing in this season of my career. How am I sure? Because time after time after time again, I am put into situations or I'm put into rooms where on paper I have no business being in. So if you go based on my background, I shouldn't be at the table today with politicians, with multimillionaires from across the country who trust what I do enough to fund the list of things that I wrote in my journal. I know that I am called to do exactly what I'm doing now in this season of my career because God opened the door for me to partner with a remote village in Ghana, West Africa, to provide food, clothes, shoes, school supplies to elementary and middle school children. So while our missions team were there the first year, word spread that the descendants of slaves have come home to help. And the population of the school increased so much to where I use my gifts, I use my talent and my calling to raise enough money to build a larger building for the middle school. So I'm also doing work in Belize, Central America, and all over the region where I live. Y'all, I know that's my calling. And so now I know you can see that the billionaires in the making number is rapidly increasing. I have people tell me often that I overwork. I'm doing too much. I'll be doing the most. And I know you've heard the question asked, would you do the work that you do every day if you weren't getting paid for it? I can honestly say, yes, I would do this work every single day of my life. I know for a fact that my voice, my work, my influence changes the lives for the better. But I could not say that several years ago when my money was funny and my change was strange, and I had to work at least two jobs just to live paycheck to paycheck. But I knew that wasn't how my life was supposed to be. I just knew I was made to do more and not be stressed over envelopes that were in my mailbox. Y'all, I promise, in 2003, I made time to sit still and write in details on the cheesy cloud paper that I got from Office Depot. I made time to write what I felt I was called to do. I still have that plan today in my office, and everything that I wrote happened without me having to write one check. God put the right people in my path every single time who had the resources, but they needed someone with a plan who can use what they had. And I'm here to tell each one of you God has put someone in your path with information and resources to help you to stop, to be still, to write the vision and make it plain so you can fulfill what you're called to do. Each of you were created to influence others, to encourage others to fulfill their callings too. It may not be extra like me and my billions of people, but you do have a number of people who you are called to push forward. It could really be just one person, but that one person could be the person who develops the technology or they develop the medicine that could save millions and millions and millions of people. There was a lady that you read about named Mary who just wanted to be the best mom that she can be. And she raised a man named Jesus, and you know that story. So you never know who's connected to you, who needs you to do your part in order for them to get where they need to become who they were destined to become. But they can't get there because of you. You're focused on the hole that you were in because of your finances. You're focused on the fact that you're living paycheck to paycheck, accounts overdrawn, credit cards and lines of credit maxed out, relying on payday loans to get you out of your jam again and again and again. Now, I'm not criticizing you and I'm not judging you. If you're in that position now, okay. But what I'm going to do is challenge you. Y'all, we're almost 6 months in to a weekly podcast that's designed to tell your money where to go instead of you always wondering where it went. My thing is, if after 6 months you're still in the same financial pit position that you were in at episode 1, the question becomes, do you really want a better life for yourself? Y'all, that's a serious question that you really need to make time to answer. If you're still struggling after having access to a free podcast, free information that's designed to help you improve your finances, what's happening to cause it? What are you going to do to fix it? Better yet, do you even want it fixed? If not, that's cool. It's your life to do with what you want. The only thing I ask is you share this podcast with others who want to fix theirs because y'all know I am trying to get to my $1 billion goal. Thank you very much for that. So, if you do, if you do want to do all that you can to live the life that God has created for you to live, you have to make time to discover everything that it'll take just to make that happen. So there's a phenomenon called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. It's when you learn something and then once you learn it, you start to see it everywhere. So I'm going to use that illustration before I wrap up this episode. It's going to bless you. I promise it will. And it's going to keep you focused on why you're taking the steps you need to take in order to get where you are destined to go. So how many times throughout the day do you see a FedEx truck? So if I had to guess, I'm sure you see them pretty frequently, delivering packages around your neighborhood, to your office, around the city. The next time you see one, I want you to take a good look at it. In between the E and the X, there's an arrow. Have you ever noticed it before? If not, every time you see one from now on, you're going to see that arrow. And from now on, every time you see that arrow, I want you to think about me and I want you to think about this episode as a reminder to focus on the direction that you're supposed to be going in, especially if you're pulling up to a store to spend money on your latte factor. I want y'all to follow that arrow right out that parking lot and go put that money right into your bank account. But seriously, I need y'all to understand how important you are to those connected to you. I want y'all to understand what's inside of you are seeds that need to be shared with others. What God placed inside each and every one of you is needed for people to produce what's inside of them. So y'all know I function better by using illustrations, like it just makes sense in my head. So what does an apple seed or an orange seed produce? Some people say another apple or another orange, but the reality is those seeds produce orchards when they're planted using the right tools and the right resources. They grow into trees filled with more apples and oranges that continues to produce more seeds that can be used to produce more trees so they can be used to produce more orchards for as far as the eye can see. So to me, you're like those seeds who have access to the right tools and the right resources that will help you produce. What you were created to produce, I don't know, but you have to make time to discover what that is for you and to make time to move those obstacles out of your way in order for it to happen the way that it should. Y'all, I really need y'all to listen to me. You were created for way more than how you're allowing yourself to live right now. Way more, exceedingly abundantly more, way more. And I want you to experience that life. I want your life to encourage others to do the same. Whether you know it or not, people are watching you. You inspire them, you motivate them. They feel that they can because they see you doing it. So don't stop. You can't stop. When you see that FedEx truck, I want you to be reminded to stay focused and go in the direction that God planned for you to go in. You can do it. I know you can. I need y'all to just trust me. Well, that ends this week's episode of It's Crystal Clear. I hope that it blessed you. It was a blessing for me to be able to share it with you. And I want you to remember, we have just a few more weeks left until we hit that 6-month mark. And there is a financial blessing attached to the 6-month march for selected people who are participating in this challenge. As always, I want to thank my behind the scenes team for doing what they do so well. I appreciate each one of you more than you know. And I appreciate everyone who's looking at me right now and for being a part of my billion number. Y'all know I love challenges. So don't forget to share this podcast. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, and it's on Apple. So until next time, I want you to dream big. I want you to stay focused. And I want you to live your best life within budget. I'll see you next time on It's Crystal Clear.